She blackmailed me. That's how we ended up together.
I blackmailed you the other day saying I was going to cut off your mullet in the middle of the night. And look, now it's gone.
Wow. She saw that.
Wow.
Yeah, she tied me up, but not in a fun way. So.
Oh, this may sound, I hope this doesn't sound shallow.
Shallow.
We get a lot of listeners. Okay. If we listen and we don't judge, all right? So.
Okay, yes.
We're in the trust tree.
Yeah.
Nothing makes JJ more, like nothing kills him more than our logistics conversations
I
like,
feel like
well,
a little boy.
you want to do that?
Hotness when you're in the middle of a fight and they're wrong isn't going to be humble, right?
Yeah, you see me sometimes and I look like a 5-year-old in my house. Anyway, but I'm actually 35.
What is the difference between men and women when it comes to their singleness? Like at the end of the day, it takes a lot more pain, heartbreak, rock bottom for men to change and grow in their singleness. And our guest today knows all about that. And I'm not sure what's a bigger flex for him. The fact that he's the pastor and chaplain for the Milwaukee Bucks, or that his up-and-coming church just hit over 20,000 salvations.
Yeah, wow.
In the past year and a half.
So wild.
I think the latter.
Yeah, I think the latter might be
20,000 souls. Kenneth, man. It doesn't even feel right to talk about your singleness. Welcome to Heart of Dating, man. We're so honored.
Man, it's such an honor to have me. You guys already have me laughing, JJ and Kate. So thank you. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we already, before this interview, Kenneth got to see us, a little bit triggered. We had to go through our pain and peace cycle. So now we knew you before, but now you really know us. So
yeah, absolutely.
So now you got to see our vulnerable sides. Now we're going to dive in on you, Kenneth.
Well, yeah, you're on the hot seat now. And just for background, we've only met one time.
Literally.
And you came to our conference.
Yes.
And
was that 2022?
Yeah. Atlanta.
And you were still single.
Yep.
How did you even end up there? Did you think you needed to be there? Like you just kind of stumbled in there?
I was the typical guy who probably felt like he didn't need to be at something like that.
Sounds like a guy for sure.
But a friend, I was in Atlanta visiting a friend, and he's like, "Yo, we're kind of hosting this thing. Got some friends that's hosting this thing called Heart of Dating," and I'm like, I'll come. I guess I'll check it out. He's like, "You need to be here." And it wasn't until I got there and I was sitting and I realized, yeah, I do need to be here.
Wait. At what point did you realize, like, oh, this is not some weird, like, awkward thing? Like, I need to be here.
You know what? So I got there. There was a night before. There was like this mix and mingle, and like
the VIP
with Red, and you got and at that point I was like, I don't know if I need to be here. I don't know. I was nervous because I was single and it was fresh single for me at this time. So I'm like, I don't think I'm ready. It wasn't until the next day, as the speakers were communicating and some of the things that were just coming across in the talks and some of like the shoot off conversation that we were having, they were really speaking to me where I was at that time. And it's just some critical information that I think I needed as a man, that wants to look like Jesus, and so it was great.
Yeah. It's always funny as men too. Sometimes we end up stumbling into the places we need to be because we don't have the wisdom to say, I should be here. I need to be here. You feel like that?
Yeah, for sure. I agree. The issue is that we don't have the wisdom to go look for the information because we think we already have the information.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a little bit of pride.
You feel like you're naturally oriented that way? Like that's maybe one of the bigger differences between men and women in singleness. Like you walk me through that, especially from your story and then from a lot of the men you're around.
Yeah, absolutely. Most men aren't looking for healing and spaces to express their feelings and to took myself on a date. Like that's all women. Like I'm solo date. I'm on a healing journey. I'm walking with self. I'm discovering me again. I have 10 sisters. I don't think I told you guys that. And so, so most of my healing conversations and what I should be doing as a single man came from my sisters, because every man in my life was like, you're free, enjoy, have fun, like it's up to you. Take as much time as you want. Don't rush to get married. There's so many fish in the pool and in the sea. My sisters are like, just take time with yourself and discover you and the Lord, and like just walk in that.
Like essential oils and candles. And like a nice calm.
There's a bath with Epsom salt.
I do. They literally told me that. And so I do. I've done all of that. I've done all of the healing work that my 10 sisters, my extra therapists walked me through.
That's amazing. Well, you kind of touched on it, Kenneth. First of all, you're a pastor. JJ mentioned that. It's a credible community out in Wisconsin. And you also, a few years ago, went through a divorce. Yeah. And that's a very unique situation, to be a pastor and to go through a divorce and to be a leader publicly and to walk through that healing journey and then be a single leader. Would love to just talk a little bit about how that was during that season for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like most people, I don't think people choose to be single. Most of us are pushed into it because whoever we loved maybe decided that, being with us wasn't a fit anymore. And so, I'm a dad, I have 2 kids. We were leading a fast growing church at that time. And now I'm single. And so my entire life was rocked. I got married at 19, and divorced at 32. And so all of my adult life was with one person. And so put it this way, every memory I had was with that person in it. And so I'm now having to create a new normal, create a new life. And there's no part of my life that I can look back unless I go to before 16 years old, where I didn't have a partner standing with me. And I've been single in that space is very hard. It was very difficult for me because I wanted to look like Jesus, but I was hurting like a man. I was, early stages of divorce, you cry a lot, you're processing a lot. You're trying to own what you did wrong while also not owning what they're trying to put on you. I went and got 2 therapists, which a lot of guys wouldn't do, but I felt that I needed it because I wasn't just a healing man and father. I was also a healing pastor. And so I had one therapist that just worked on me, the man, and I had another therapist that listened to all of my messages to make sure that I wasn't bleeding through onto people. And so it was very tough because being single for me was not something that I wanted. I didn't want to be single. And like most people, like you want the love of your life to just find you tonight and then get married tomorrow. But I had to walk through it and learn what it meant to truly know myself as a single man, because husband was a part of my identity for most of my adult life. And so now I'm 32 and it's like, I'm not a husband anymore. I'm just a man. I'm just a dad. And
that is a really hard season to go through. I can't even imagine, Kenneth, with the spotlight, with the growing church. I commend you too for getting the 2 therapists. I want to go into that vulnerability and just ask, if you would share with us, what were some of the harder questions or emotions that you were walking through specifically during that time as you transition from literally, I bet you didn't even have that many memories before 16 of truly singleness. It's you're like a kid before that.
Yeah, absolutely. There were so many pain points. I questioned myself constantly. Should I be leading right now? Am I worth leading right now? How can I help somebody else's family? And I couldn't salvage mine. I was trying to believe. I was preaching scriptures that I was struggling to believe, all things work together for good. And I'm like, but I was faithful to this woman. I loved this woman and it didn't work still. What about that? Or I saw people have, I saw terrible guys have marriages where wives just stuck around and loved on them. And I'm like, I'm a pretty decent guy, and I invested all that I had into this and it didn't work. Public scrutiny, looking like a failure in front of people. And the scariest part is, man, what will it look like for me to ever think of trying to find love again? So how do you start again as a pastor? Where do you go? Where does a pastor go? And they say, I want to find someone to date. You can't go to your church. Because
Yeah.
so like anybody that goes to my church, all right, you're off limits automatically. All right. And that's just 6,000 people. So they're going. And then, what do I do? And so it was tough. Like I would find myself being emotional at things that I was never emotional about before. I mean,
like what?
Like music. You know what I mean? Like you listen to like a song and they're singing like, "Oh, I'll fight for you," and you're like, "They didn't fight for me. I fought." I fought, but she walked away, and it's just like everything that the movies that you will watch, and there were movies that would mention divorce, but it didn't mean anything to me because I had never walked through it. And then like this character in the movie is talking about how hard it is to heal from divorce. And they talk about their parents that got divorced. And then I was like, oh, my kids will have that story. That's scary that, I had to watch my parents walk through divorce. And so it was, there were a lot of emotions that took forever to process that now I can say it was fear. It was anxiety. It was, questioning self-worth, questioning purpose, questioning every decision I ever made in the marriage, what was right, what was wrong, questioning if I stayed too long, questioning if we left too early, just every action has now been combed through with a fine-tooth comb. And it could be very unhealthy, which is why I got two therapists, because if not, you will start to question even the good parts of you.
Totally. There's some benefit to questioning.
Absolutely.
As long as the train keeps moving, is that you can't stay.
Absolutely.
And because you could, if you wanted, just question yourself into oblivion.
Well, the question, if it especially leads to worthlessness or hopelessness, will lead you into a stuck ditch, So as long as the questions are moving you forward in some direction.
Totally. Now, at what point did you, decide like, okay, I do want to date again? I'm assuming it wasn't immediately after, I'm sure you considered like, am I just going to be a celibate monk the rest of my life? Like, walk me through.
Well, I was raised by women. So my dad's in my life, but I have 10 sisters. So I was surrounded by women my whole life. So in my heart, I'm still a hopeless romantic. That's why I got married as a freaking teenager. No guy does that.
Yeah, 19.
I'm still a hopeless romantic. So I knew I wasn't going to be a celibate monk. I'm like, no, I need a wife. I need somebody to love on. That's who I'm a lover at heart. And so I knew I wanted to date, but I knew for a fact within that first year that if I was to date someone, I would damage them because I would trust no one. My trust was broken in my marriage before. So now it's like, any woman that was in front of me, I was quite cynical. I'm like, what do you want? Like, who are you? Who's
like overly cynical?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was overly cynical in the first year because if you find out that you don't really truly know the person that you were with your entire life, you're like, well, how could I ever learn this? I just met you. I'm still learning stuff about her, and I was with her since I was a teenager. So who are you? Like obviously you're going to show me the best sides of you because we just met. That doesn't mean anything, right? And and I'm a pastor, so you're going to talk about Jesus all day, but that doesn't quite show me who you are after your faith and religion is pulled off of you. So I knew I needed time, so I waited about a year. And after a year, I decided to start opening myself up. And that was treacherous.
Yeah. I can't imagine.
My goodness. It was treacherous. I don't know any other word besides treachery. Diabolical. It
was wild.
It was wild. I mean, so I came Heart of Dating. One thing that I learned.
Yes, I want to hear it. The
Heart of Dating was really helpful. This stuck with me. Still to this day, it still bleeds inside my core. I forgot to say that. I don't know who said it, but I don't want to quote the wrong person. But they said, as a man of God, when you're dating, you should leave every woman better than you found them.
Yes, that was JP Pacluda.
Yes, I think it was. Yes, JP.
Yes.
And I'm like sitting on the front row at this point, right? So I can't even I can't get away from the message. It's like ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
And I realized like, man, I need to date like Jesus, which means that every person he came across, they were better because they met him.
Amen.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, any woman that I meet, I need to be better. They need to be better, because we encountered, because I showed so much honor, integrity, and I walked with love, and I walked with an upright heart. And then I forgot who said this, may have been JP as well, but then they said, but in order to date, you got to date. Like, you can't just be with one person and then fall in love, after one date. Like, you got to get out and meet people. And that was scary to me because I'm a pastor. So what does it look like as a pastor going on multiple dates? Like, some people will look at it and say, does he have integrity? Is he playing the field? You're not used to your pastor dating people. It's a very uncomfortable conversation. If somebody tells you, yeah, I saw your pastor, he was out with one of my friends. And you're like, huh? Like, I don't think he should be doing that. Right. And so it was scary because at first I said, well, I want to date people that are in other cities. But then I decided that was maybe not so good for a man who's trying to learn trust. That's probably not the first option. And I tried it, it didn't work. And then I was like, I'm going to date people who are like close to Milwaukee, but not in Milwaukee. And like, it was tough because I didn't know how to meet people. I don't have any pickup lines. Social media is a terrible place to meet people. It was just a lot of, it was treachery. I mean, I had people that stalked me. I mean, I took somebody on a coffee date and they said they thought we were going to get married and that they were going to make a post to our church that I led them on at coffee at 8 a.m. And I'm like, it was just coffee.
That's so funny because Kate did the same thing to me, actually.
What?
when we were dating, because she blackmailed me. That's how we ended up together.
I blackmailed you the other day saying I was going to cut off your mullet in the middle of the night. And look, now it's gone.
Wow.
She saw that.
Wow.
Yeah, she tied me up, but not in a fun way. So,
Dude,
and like Samson and Delilah, man.
Calling all my single as a Pringles. You've prayed. You've tried just about everything, and you are still single. Well, boy, do I have something for y'all. Let me tell you this. You're not single because you're unworthy. It's probably just because you're stuck in patterns that aren't leading you to finding the love that you want. And I want to help you change that. May 11th through 14th, we are hosting a free mini conference online. It's May 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 4 nights from 7 to 8:30 Central Time. It's called the Find Your Person Challenge. It's an event to help you break free, get unstuck, and actually have tools to find the very person that you are looking for. For all my OG Heart of Dating people out there, you remember conference in 2020. This is going to be a little reminiscent of that. Let's flash back some nostalgia from that time, shall we? Except this event is actually totally free. We wanted to make it accessible to everyone. So come and join us May 11th. Hey, if you can't make every single day, you'll get all of the replays sent to you for that next week. So still sign up. You can go to heartofdating.com/challenge.
So I have a question. I hear this a few times, and I actually think it's one of the craziest aspects of singleness. You went through a divorce, 13 years of marriage. Obviously, marriage is very refining.
Yep.
What came out in dating that didn't come out in 13 years of marriage that was like, whoa, this is... I did not know this about Kenneth. This is God, like, we gotta...
That's a really good question. What came out in dating that didn't come out in 13 years of marriage? You know what? Oh, this may sound... I hope this doesn't sound shallow.
Shallow.
Get a lot of listeners. Okay. If we listen and we don't judge, all right? So...
Okay, yes.
We're on the trust tree.
Yeah. I got married as a teenager, just married my high school sweetheart. So I married just what was available, if I could say. Being single at 32, and I'm a chaplain of an NBA championship team, and I'm leading a fast growing church, I had to really sit down with myself and say, what is your type? Like, don't be fake righteous. And like, oh, I love all people. And as long as the woman loves God, because that's what I was saying. As long as she loves Jesus, I don't have a type. And that's a lie. Like I realized
on the surface, yeah.
Yeah, I realized, and I started dating. Everybody was reaching out, but I kept responding to a certain type. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe I do have a type, and I had to sit with myself on that, and to coach myself that it's not shallow to have a preference. that, you like what you like, and you're better off marrying what you like as opposed to marrying what you don't like and then still lusting what you like.
That's maybe focus on physical attraction. What about like the character aspects? Because I'm sure you learn like the woman you could be married to is maybe the most beautiful woman in the whole world, but the character and the personality, and you raise 2 kids with a woman. I mean, like the challenges of life, like we say all the time, hotness isn't going to raise your kid. Hotness is not getting out of the bed at 2 a.m.
Come on.
To go get a screaming kid. Hotness when you're in the middle of a fight and they're wrong isn't going to be humble, right? And say, maybe I'm off here, right?
Yeah. For me, I realized that I love gentle communication. And I know that sounds crazy because I'm very, I'm a strong guy. I'm very loud. I'm very vocal, verbose. But I love gentle communication. So a personality trait that like wins me over every time is a person who, even when they're frustrated, even if like they're going through a tough time with you, they're still able to communicate in honor and with a gentle tone. That was one of those ones that I didn't realize I melted like a child. And I realized later in therapy, like all the reasons why, my mom is a very strong leader. My sisters are very strong and vocally strong and loud. And so, I realized that I was used to that and I naturally leaned into it. But what got a different version of me to come to the table was the one who was frustrated and still said, hey, I honor you, but I really didn't appreciate how this happened, or hey,
yeah, like the little boy in you like needed and wanted that gentle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So gentle communication, like that naturally nurturing type of personality, was something that I craved more than what I knew. So I didn't think I needed it because I never had it my entire life. So I'm like, I'm a strong guy. It doesn't matter. Like, you can tell me like it is, keep it straight with me and shoot it straight. And I was so used to that's how I kind of came in dating. And it wasn't until I met somebody that spoke with an always gentle tone. I almost thought that it was fake. I'm like, there's no way that she's always like, kind. Like this is a show. And it wasn't until like we kind of like bumped heads about something. And even in that moment, it was still with kindness. Then I was like, I think I need this in my life. I think that this will bless me and my kids, even in the future, for years and years to come. And so that personality trait of a woman who can be strong, but it doesn't have to come out in tone. Like, she was very strong. She was very direct in how she felt. She didn't like beat around the bush or pander, for the sake of trying to like not communicate well. She communicated very well, but every single time was from a place of honor and from a place of respect. And it taught me how to communicate better because I was only used to strong, very direct communication. That it taught me that, hey, you can be frustrated, but still honor the person while expressing your frustration.
Okay. I have another quick question because JJ mentioned at the beginning with men, what we coach a lot of women and we do coach a good amount of guys. And the majority of guys that come to us typically are guys that have been through a divorce or a big breakup or something like that really just breaks their heart. Women, they'll out the gate, they'll be like, hey, I need help, but then for guys, it's usually after something big, like they almost need to have that dark night of the soul moment, like that dark, like I hit a wall or I am just in a trench and I actually really do need some help getting out. Have you seen that? Was that how it was for you? Or do you see that for other men that you pastor? Like, what is your take on that?
Yeah, I totally agree with the sentiment of what you just said. I think it comes from, there is no space in the world. Well, now I think the world is in a better place. But for the last 100 years, there's no space for men. In growing up in life, there was never a time where it was safe for you to say, I need help. I'm hurting. I don't feel well. I'm broken. Men couldn't say that 20 years ago. A woman could say, hey, I just feel broken right now. And women would come around and say, it's okay. We'll walk with you. We'll champion you on. If a man comes out and says, I feel broken, they're like, bro, get it together. Like, be tough. Like, figure it out. Like, where are you? And so most men don't express that they need help until they're forced into it and until something catastrophic happens and now they're bleeding internally and they're like, you know what, I really need somebody to help me. And transparently, it was that for myself as well. It was the pain of what I went through that made me go to therapy, because I've experienced a lot of trauma in my life, but I had never gone to therapy until divorce.
I totally agree. I also think, and you tell me, one of my theories is that men thrive and grow when the responsibility on their shoulders is greater than their current character.
Oh, that's so real. That's so good. That's
being
so
a pastor, so you're also a pastor. So if you weren't a pastor, do you feel like that maybe would have changed your motivation a little bit? Like you would have been apt to get help because of all the pain and heartbreak, but we wouldn't have chased it as hard as you did. I love that you did it. And I'm like thanking God that call was on your life and that responsibility was, taken up. Because look at the foundation that laid for years later for 20,000 souls to be saved.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if that would have, we don't know if that would have happened if this whole journey hasn't unfolded like it has. But yeah, you tell me, do you feel like non-pastor Kenneth would have responded the same way, and how does that maybe affect? Because I do think there's a lot of guys in your shoes who don't do what you did, maybe because they're not a pastor or they don't have a big responsibility, and you unpack that for me.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. If I could be totally honest, if I didn't have Jesus and I wasn't a pastor having this level of responsibility to where I had to speak to the wellness of people and their spiritual well-being every single Sunday, I think I would have imploded and done a bunch of dumb things for that whole first year. Probably dated around and just been dumb because we try to self-medicate by losing ourselves in another woman or behind a bottle, or maybe just hang out and you just kick it and go wild for a while as a way of numbing the pain until you're forced to deal with it. I just knew that I couldn't afford it because I had the souls of so many people in my hands at that time. And I felt it would have been irresponsible for me not to do the hard work and to do it early. So being a pastor did force me into a place of quick healing, or at least going into the work immediately, because I had an elder board who was with me. I had pastor friends who were with me. I have a pastor that pastors me. I had therapists who were walking with me every day. Ken, where are you? Where's your heart? Where's your mind? Where's your spirit? The average man doesn't have 20 people checking on him every day to make sure he's well. Just transparently, the average man goes through divorce and he goes into a silo. He's pushed into darkness. He's by himself. He's figuring it out on his own. His entire world was just rocked and there's nobody checking on him. Well, there were people in my life who were vested in me transparently. And they were like, hey, we cannot see Ken lose. And so they were there walking with me. And I give credit to those who were with me, my friends, my companions, our board, our team, my sisters, my mentors who were with me every step of the way. And I think that level of community I had never seen in my life, but it became super crucial at the lowest moment of my life.
I think you're speaking to something that is so powerful, because one of the biggest things that we teach, and in our mentorship program, the School of Dating, we really talk through the importance of wise counsel. We call something the life board of advisors, basically. So just like a company needs a board of advisors, you need one for your life. And it needs to be filled not just with your best friends that are kicking it with you the same things.
I call my best friends my cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Even sometimes especially with the younger you are, you do something wrong or blah, blah, blah.
They're like, it's okay.
Yeah. They're like, it's okay. I'm proud of they're slanted, they're just kind of cheering you on.
But unless you invite some of those close friends to really be the ones that are speaking into your life, and they're living at a pace and a life that's honorable, that's okay. But then it's filled with the mentors, the older and wiser people, the counsel, the therapists, the coaches, the people that are ahead of you that you've given full, the full breadth of your life is on display. And you say, hey, here is my heart. Here's all the things I've done wrong. Here's what's really going on. And I actually I really think, that's an overall missing piece, I think, for a lot of singles, but especially single men. And I don't want to just attack the single men, but I do often see that is just one unfortunate area that, when I'm coaching women to date, I'm like, hey, first of all, you need this. So if you don't have this, you can't look for it in a guy. If you don't have this, you need, that's a double standard. But if he doesn't have some close people that he's able to lean on, that keep him accountable, that don't just know him transparently, because JJ talks about this all the time. It's easy for somebody to be transparent, oh, I really messed up. I did something wrong. versus the vulnerability exposes your heart and says, hey, this is exactly what I did. And this is exactly what I said. And this is how wrong it was. Just admitting that you did something wrong. Okay, that's transparent, but that's not really getting to the vulnerability of like, here are the details and the breadth and depth of what I mean, you know, I do that all the time in our marital fights. I mean, I shouldn't tell everybody every single thing that happens, but I have to have some safe spaces where I'm honest about like, hey, I actually said this. We didn't just have a fight that didn't go that great. No, I did this and I need to expose my heart. And so I think that's one area for a lot of guys that is missing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How did that change you, especially in that season of healing, having those people as a man?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. First, it starts off weird because men, we don't have those people because we don't want them. I don't want you in my life. I don't want to have to report to anybody. I don't want to give anybody the deep details of my pain or my decision or my stupidity. If I just did something dumb, I want to just forget I did it the next day and just keep going like I never did it. But when there's somebody like, no, what did you do? How did it happen? How do you like, yo, I don't want to have to answer to somebody else. And so I think, it was more than helpful. It was life-saving for me to have counsel and I had people that I allowed in. But at first I had to get over myself to allow them in. And I had to truly convince myself that, Ken, this is healthy for you and that you got to live above reproach, and live above board.
Yeah. That part I like, and it doesn't change, obviously.
Yeah. Come on.
Sometimes the journey of man is constantly convincing yourself that like you are human and you need help.
Yes.
And you're not as right as you think you are. And you're not as good as you think you are. And you're not as whatever you think you are.
Come on.
Just hike it down. I literally the past like month or two with Kay, I'm just like, I just don't think I'm as good as blank as what I thought. And she's like,
absolutely. That's so real though. That is so real.
But for men, it's so funny. You tell me. I feel like as I hear you guys describe this, I'm like, the core thing that women are wired for is security. And that's really what drives a lot of their desire to grow and then find a man is that security. And it's oftentimes one of the most precious things that God calls you to sacrifice in your singleness journey. Okay. And it's very guarded, you know, like it's very effective and productive and they're growing. But underneath that can be a huge layer of security or lack of, and that's what's driving all of it. For men, it's the opposite. We love our autonomy.
Yes.
We love our freedom. We love our... and there's not a single I feel like I told Kate, it's so funny as you said that.
But nothing makes JJ more, like nothing kills him more than our logistics conversations of
I feel like a little boy.
You want to do that, but you have to watch the baby because I have a dentist appointment. I'm sorry.
I feel like a little child going to my mommy when I have to ask her, can I go meet with this person? But that is healthy. It's normal to have a, joint, but that's my autonomy that I have to, sacrifice that. I'm a man. And that's the single man's, I think that is the single man's kryptonite. Just like a woman has to sacrifice her security, a man actually has to sacrifice that autonomy and freedom and put himself into a situation that you subjected yourself to.
That is
I'm going to put myself into structure, I put myself into accountability. And it's not the
And then when you have a family, it's like I'm putting myself into like logistics that I have to deal with because there are dependents.
Absolutely. No, he's telling the truth. I mean, I didn't think that once I actually took the time to heal, I enjoyed being single. I didn't think that I would enjoy it as much as I did. Like just coming home and there's like nobody that I have to explain anything about my day to. It's like if I was out of town and I was traveling to speak somewhere, I can say, you know what? I like New York. Instead of just speaking on Thursday and flying right back, I'll stay till Saturday because New York is fun. When you got a wife, you can't do that. You said you were coming home Thursday night. I'm expecting you by Thursday night. The kids are crying. Like there's like a responsibility to somebody else. And so, I was single and it's like as a single man, you can just, you have that autonomy just to float as you want to float. If you want to extend a stay, cut a stay, pick up and leave tomorrow, hang out with the boys, you could do that. And so he is right. Men don't want to give that up. And even as a man who was married for almost 13 years before being single. Once I was single, I was like, man, this does feel a bit refreshing.
This is a little alluring. It's a little alluring.
It just hits different.
Hey, I do have another question that's a little bit of a left turn, but Kenneth, I want to know, as you were entering the dating scene, you know, there are a lot of our listeners who are divorced. And I just want you to speak to that for a moment, because I think that there's sometimes a stigma for people who've never been divorced and they're just out there. They have their list of non-negotiables and, you know, they go on a date with somebody and then they find out, oh, they're divorced. And it's kind of, for some people, they're like, whoa, I don't know about that. Like, what did you do? You know, like, what did you do to like implode or blow up your marriage? This is already like a red flag. I'm not sure about this. And so did you experience any of that? And then on the flip side, for those that are listening that are divorced, I'd love for you to offer some encouragement for them as they're out there dating. Yeah,
absolutely. I think one thing I'll say for a person who sees divorce as a red flag is simply a person who hasn't lived long enough. If a person is married or has been married, they at least have some experience of knowing what it means to sacrifice versions of self for someone else. Yes. A man who's been single his whole life isn't sacrificing a thing for you. We just talked about the autonomy. Like, this is my world, sister, and you're stepping into it, you know? And it's like, I have to learn what it means to sacrifice my autonomy for your safety. That's a thing a man has to learn.
Say that again. Say that again.
Yeah, like a single man has to learn how to sacrifice their autonomy for the woman's safety. And that doesn't just happen overnight. Like, you have to learn to do that. But a man who's been married before and he's looking to do it again is a man who is saying, I appreciated putting myself on the line and make sure that my wife was safe. And whether or not that thing didn't pan out perfectly, as many relationships don't pan out perfectly, like marriage is a relationship. If it didn't pan out perfectly, I still have some practice and I still want to do it again. And so it's more so a green flag to say, you've been married, you've been divorced, and you still desire love. Wow. You've learned how to heal from pain. Wow. You want to move forward. Wow. Like, these can actually be green flags. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any red flags. No, there's always going to be a listener, but what about that guy? And this, there are always exceptions. Do your research, have discernment, pray about it, let Jesus lead you, all that stuff. But I think any man that was married before has a lot of experience with that. Now, to my divorcees and those who have walked through it, it's really, really hard. One of the things that starting to date again and the mere thought of opening yourself in that deep way to another person is terrifying. So first thing that I had to do was I had to do like a breaking of a word oath. I realized for myself that, you know, when you get married, you make this vow to God and in front of people. And then when you get divorced, you just sign a paper, but your soul is still holding on to words that you said. And like, so sometimes you have to say out loud, like, I actually separate myself from covenants I've made before. And like, I'm freeing myself to love again, to be open again, to receive love again in different forms, in different relationships. And you really have to just do it scared, transparently. My first few days where I was scared. I don't think I wasn't scared until after day 4, maybe. You know what I mean? Where I was like, all right, there's going to be some weirdos. It's going to be crazy. And like, it kind of like, it just comes with it. But there really are some amazing people out there. And there were some people that, you know, they weren't good fits, but like, they still were amazing people. And just to open myself up again, and that it's scarier thinking about it than it is actually doing it. Because when you do the work of having your boundaries and knowing what you're looking for and not just opening yourself to any and everybody, you kind of go in already knowing like, hey, there's some criteria that isn't superficial, but it's real for what I know is required to have a covenant life with someone.
Mm. Now, that I think because you were married, obviously your singleness was different, and because you knew you want to get married again. Yeah. So you kind of run your life a different way. Yeah. For those who are not divorced, and like your everyday guy of Evolved Church, he's 30 years old, he's single, he's having some fun. Like, how can he practice? I think that's one thing that is challenging. Yep. How can he practically prepare to be a husband in a very, very great way? Because there is a reality where I don't know if God designed us to be as men single for this long. I think it's new for us as a culture, but I do think we're supposed to have like 18, 19, 20 years old a wife, a kid, depending on us. And that was kind of the point where we needed to, you know, step up to the plate.
I mean, they were even younger back in Jesus' days.
Now we have this totally different world. So adapting to like where we're at as a world and culture, how does that like 30-year-old guy who's in no rush, there's no mother nature, he can wait another 10 years and it doesn't affect his kids and timeline, and he can just chill, have fun.
I totally agree with you. I think I would tell any man, or I would ask them this question rather, what are you doing that is serving someone else and you get nothing out of it? And just find those pockets in your life, because I think that's the only way for a man to prepare for marriage truly is to say, I'm about to do something that only benefits the people I'm called to help. Right. And I don't get there's no immediate gratification for me out of this. Like literally, I'm going to do this consistently every day, faithfully, and they will benefit from my sacrifice. It is quite literally Christ and his bride.
Yeah. There's no Instagram about it. There's no, you don't get any clout.
You get a cool reel out of it.
You don't get any shout out. You don't get any social value.
Money, and you get no thank you.
Yeah. You know, bonus points if you really don't like them at that moment. You know, like bonus points if you have some frustration with them, you have some resentment towards them.
Absolutely.
Like
they hurt you.
Yeah, they hurt you.
Oh man, absolutely. I think working on those. I'm glad Kate said hurt you, because forgiveness is a lesson that you need to learn early. Period, for life, but especially for marriage. You cannot hold on to stuff forever, man. You got to forgive quickly and forget quickly. If you don't do that, you're just going to create a very toxic and deadening environment in your home.
You're preaching to the choir right now. And you know what I learned, Kenneth? I can't even forgive Kate of the resentment without Christ.
Come on.
I'm not even capable of forgiving someone without Christ.
Come on, man.
Without like without him in the recipe and the equation.
Yeah.
I cannot do the most quote basic things of our faith.
That is so real. That is so real. Well, forgiving people is hard. Man. It's hard.
You know what I mean?
It is hard.
I don't think we're wired to forgive because we're wired to remember.
Man, our heart hates it. Our heart wants a judgment.
Yeah.
Our heart wants a justice.
Yes.
Our heart wants vengeance.
Yes.
Like there was pain.
Yes.
And you are going, there needs to be something.
Yeah.
To reconcile this. That's why you heard me in my pain cycle, man. Unfairness. This is unfair.
Yeah.
And that paradigm of unfair needs to die.
It is. No, you're preaching so good right now, man, because that justice that we want, and to feel as if like a person can't just do me wrong and get away with it. We think that we're supposed to have a hand in recompense. And none of us do. My responsibility is to completely release whatever you did. Like, hey, brother, like I completely forgive you. I have no art against you, because it isn't my concern that make sure you get back what you did. God set up the earth to be that way, that you will always reap what you sow. Like whatever you put in the ground grows out of the ground. And so like, I leave that stuff to God. It doesn't matter who the person is, you know, and especially if it's your spouse, you can't love somebody and try to figure out how to get the upper hand on them. That's not what it is. Love gives, love sacrifices. It doesn't keep records of wrong. Like when you truly look at love, like it's patient. It means you can do me wrong and it doesn't change my behavior or my heart towards you. And that is a thing you have to grow into, because most of us are childish, even if we have a grown number attached to our name. I can say I'm 30 something. That's an adult number, but I'm still childish in the way I process feelings and emotions. Nothing. Like you still have to work on that.
Yeah, you see me sometimes and I look like a 5-year-old in my house anyway. But I'm actually 35 anyway. Kenneth, okay. So your beautiful bride, just want to wrap on this. You guys have been married now for 9 months and you have a baby on the way, which is wild, which is amazing. Woo! So just wanted to bring that up because what an awesome testimony to, how God is redeeming and healing. And we just celebrate that because I'm sure it wasn't easy to walk through the heartbreak you went through, the healing you went through publicly while leading. And it's just it's amazing to see like this woman who, and you blended families. You were a single dad, you're like single dad in it. And she didn't have kids before. And so also wanted to say that, awesome that she's like, hey, I'm accepting that you're divorced and I'm accepting these beautiful kids of yours into my life.
Yes.
And
that I'm a pastor.
I'm accepting all of that. Yeah. And that you're a pastor. I'm accepting all of that. This is a big deal.
It's a lot. It's my wife is literally my dream and God's answer to my prayer. I'll say this, that I remember trying to go through the forgiveness process that JJ was talking about. And the Lord was saying, hey, like, it isn't your responsibility to just trust that your job is to show mercy, to show grace and to forgive, and that I'll bring justice to your life. And when I met my wife, her name was Justice. Her name is Justice, and so I always tell her, I said, I felt like you were the justice that God was going to bring into my life. And it's been exactly that. Everything, I feel like God is paying me back for all the good I've sown, truly. And that's how I see my relationship with my bride. She's been a gift. She's been kindness. She's been the gentleness. She's been the warmth. She's been the love. She makes me nicer. I'm a nicer person because of her, truly. Like I'm a pretty nice guy, but there's a little bit of jerk in there. Like I get to a certain moment and the jerk just comes out. I don't know where he comes from.
He's still down there somewhere.
Yeah. And she's like tamed that jerk in me. Like there's times where I've seen like certain tendencies come and a soft answer turns away wrath. I mean, she's just so kind.
Man, she sounds amazing, man.
Yeah.
So
she sounds
I want to meet
sweet.
this beautiful lady.
I know.
I can't wait, Kate.
I can learn a thing or two from her.
Hey, she said it,
teach me your ways.
Yeah.
I'm learning them hardly.
Yeah. He is so funny.
Oh my God.
Well, bro, we're so grateful for you. We're we're celebrating with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
your kid on the way, man. I can't tell you how happy alongside of you as a brother in Christ I am for you, man.
Come on, man. But listen, I honestly, same to you guys. I want to say thank you because it was that Heart of Dating conference that I learned to date. I still remember a breakout session, man, JJ, where I forget the other guy's name, but you guys took all the guys in another room. We just talked about the heart, like having your heart posture right when you're pursuing women like that, like just like those seem as if they're small things, but it was those small conversations that made me look beyond the exterior and say, okay, it's not just about a woman being attractive, but like, do they have the heart of Jesus? Do they love like Jesus? Can they nurture? Can they give? And can they support all of the purpose that God has on my life? Because I know that God has a lot of purpose on my life. And I just appreciate those nuggets, and even just seeing how, if I'm remembering correctly, it was bits and pieces of you and Kate's story of like, it wasn't always the right fit, and we had to pray and had to let God and had to like all of this, like God had to be a part of it. And it was the same for me. I had to trust that when I was looking, don't look for the perfect fit, look for the God fit. And
amen, man.
It was grateful. It was a grateful time.
Amen, man.
Wow.
Well, it sounds like we need to do a conference up in Milwaukee.
Come on. Come on. We got a lot of singles up here. So
They're hungry. Like, Kenneth, show us the way.
Let's cook, man.
We want a justice in our life.
No, legit. I've heard that statement and exactly. So I'm trying to figure out how to help them. I keep feeling like, man, guys, I don't know. There's only one justice. I got to find somebody else.
Man. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll text, man. We'll talk about it. All right. Love you, bro.
We love you, Kenneth. Thanks for sharing today.
Yeah,
The Heart of Dating podcast is created by Kate and JJ Tomlin. Shout out to our epic audio and video editor, Scott Caro. We have an amazing Heart of Dating team who helps bring the show to you each week. I want to shout out Elena Gibson, our brand and community manager. Now, if you guys have never ranked us or reviewed us on iTunes or Spotify, would you consider doing that? It would mean so much because our podcast can get more discovered and more people can learn how to better date as Christians. Don't we all want that? We launch our podcast each and every week on Wednesdays, so we will see you next week.